today I have a little bit of a different kind of video. The question is to read or not to read. Okay, so in regards to Michael Clay Thompson, some of you know that I have reviewed Michael Clay Thompson books because there's not, I don't know, I haven't checked lately. I think there were becoming more and more, but when I first started, I did not see a lot of Michael Clay Thompson videos out there. So today I want to do a question and slight answer. So I want to give you my opinion, and then I would love to hear what you guys think. It can be in regards to Michael Clay Thompson or just other curriculums that you use. But something that I actually read today that Charlotte Mason supposedly said was that the student needs to be reading on their own, and they need to not be kind of like lazy, because reading can be very difficult. And so sometimes when we are tired or we just don't want to read, it's easier to have someone else to read for us. And at first when I read that, I was like, you shouldn't read to your kid. I read to my kid all the time. We read so many books. Picture books, chapter books, big books, little books. I mean, from the time that they're little, I feel like I haven't done it as much with my fifth because I'm reading so many other books to the middle kids. But we just have read and read and read and read. And so I'm curious, what do you think about that quote? And what do you do? Do you give your kids books and then curriculum and say, go do it and I'll check it at the end? Do you read all of it with them? Do you do, kind of a mixture? And maybe this is a hot topic. I don't know. I think that some people would prefer, and I've done it as well, to give a curriculum and say, you go and do it and I'll see you on the flip side. And with 5 kids, I get that it gets harder to do school with everybody. And as much as I can, I lump subjects and kids together. So like if we're all doing math at the table, but they're all doing their own math, or we all do the same, not all, the older kids do their own vocabulary and the younger kids do the same history, or we all do, multiple same read alouds. For example, we did Hollings, Holling, if that's a real name, that's so odd to me, but whatever. His book, Pagoo, or Pagorus is for short. Pagoo is short for Pagorus. We read that all together, and we talked about oceans and ecosystems and all sorts of stuff. So that's something that you can do from kindergarten all the way up to 10th grade. So as much as we can, we put together. So curious what your thoughts are. I have definitely done different things at different times, and I think that it becomes difficult when your child is used to you reading everything to them. We, as some of you may know, we do some of the well-trained mind curriculum, and something that they have said in the past is that you are able to do much higher or much harder material with younger kids when you do it orally. So we start out doing a lot of things orally, and for my older 2, that worked really well. And I do feel like they were doing some harder things because I was doing it oral with them, and they weren't made to write down their answer. They could dictate back their answer, and I could copy it down. So for us, that has worked. But as they have gotten older, I have noticed that I am learning a lot from the Michael Clay Thompson because I'm reading it to them. A lot of it is advanced, and so it just works easier if I read it to the 2 older kids and we do it all together. But when you're the one reading and figuring it out and then basically spoon feeding it back to the kids, I don't know how much they're getting. And I've said in a past video, we're doing an experiment. I'm not really sure how I feel about that, but it is what it is. So we are doing an experiment. I'm curious what others do. Right now, I think my thought is you read as much as you can to your kids and you don't stop. So even though my big kids are now in high school, I'm still reading, and we still do audiobooks as a family, but I am not reading everything to them. And if you have a kid who maybe has some learning disabilities or dyslexia, I have found that it is easier to read to those kids or find the audio version of that book and kind of do a mixture. So some of it I'm reading to them, some of it they're reading on their own, but it does make it harder, but I am going through, and the best of my ability, they kind of have checkpoints. Like, for example, math, you have to check it every single day, but a lot of it they're doing on their own in high school. But with other subjects, you check throughout or read with. I don't know. Anyways, I'm trying to figure it out. Would love to hear what you guys have done. So what I think I didn't finish that, but what I'm thinking is that you read together as a family. You don't stop reading to your high school kids just because they're in high school. But with school, I think that you do have to get to a point where they read more. So, for example, what we did this last year with an 8th grader and a 10th grader was, for some of the subjects that we did together, I would actually have them take turns reading aloud and talking about it, telling me what they thought, and I was kind of like the student. I was sitting there listening, and the reason for that was so that I'm making sure that they're pronouncing words correctly, and if we both don't know the word, we can, Google it on my phone and pronounce it. We can look up definitions, we can kind of talk about it, so that I know that they are understanding what it is they're doing. So going back to Michael Clay Thompson, when we started level 1, I read it to my younger kid, and my older kid actually came back to do Michael Clay Thompson, and she read that first level mostly on her own. She would sit and listen to us, and I would watch her not doing school. She would be listening, and then she would come sit with us, and then over the summer she took some of the books and read them on her own, and then the next year we all did level 2 together. So I think that by reading with your student, along with your student, even though it takes a lot of time, I think that it's better if they can read more of it, or over time they take over the reading. But at least in my experience, that reading is tiring and reading is hard and it's work. And so I don't want my kids to be pushed so much to where they're reading so much that they're just like, I can't do it. So I think for us, what I've done in the past and what I will continue to try to do is that I will be reading a lot. But as they get older, I would say more 4th grade, they start to read more. We are about to start Michael Clay Thompson all over again, probably next year. Not this school year, probably next year. So we will see how much he can read on his own. I like reading it to them because it's fun. But I do get that when you put that burden on their shoulders, then they're the one that's trying to figure it out. But another element is I think they have to be invested in the material. I think they need to want to learn it. And Michael Clay Thompson, actually I saw a short video a couple of years ago of him saying a lot of this, of like they need to be reading it on their own. And I had no idea. I had done Michael Clay Thompson at that point for 3 or 4 years and did not know that they were supposed to be reading this on their own. I started in 3rd grade reading it to them and just kind of continued for a long time. And then probably level 3 or 4, no, 3, we took, I think, level 3 for 2 years. So I think it was the 4th year we had done it, but it's level 3. I realized I was like, you guys are not as invested, and I'm the one spoon feeding you, and you're getting bigger. So we kind of shifted, and I tried to have them start reading more and telling me. So I think with each student, it's probably going to be different. I'm curious what you guys do. But Michael Clay Thompson and Charlotte Mason both have just talked about how important it is for them to be reading and them to figure it out. And today, I read part of level 5 vocabulary introduction, and he said, you want them to be interested, you want them to be curious about the subject matter so that they want to know. So I think that is something that we are working on in our homeschool, is that they would enjoy learning and that they would want to learn. And there are days that we want to learn and there are days that we do not want to learn. And we would rather be building a boat and playing outside And I get that. But yeah, I'm curious for those of you that do Michael Clay Thompson, did you start in level 1 and start letting them read it on their own alongside them? I cannot imagine just giving them. I have heard people say that they started with level 1, they gave it to their kids, and they just like did it. To me, I can't imagine that. But we started in 3rd grade. Maybe those people are starting 4th or 5th. I don't know. But yeah, I would be curious. How do you do it in your homeschool? Do you let your kid mainly read on their own? Do you read a lot of it with them? And if you did Michael Clay Thompson, did you start at level 1 and just let your kid read it? So let me know.